It's New Year's Day, 1964. A good new year to everybody.
1964 is born. Britannia shakes off her robes and hitches up her skirts a few inches. The airwaves are filled with the sound of Beatle music. A new sort of club is appearing in town, the discotheque, where young people dance to high-quality, high-volume music off the record. The DJs play lots of American discs, but lots of Beatles too. 1,000 office boys walk the streets tossing their newly acquired haircuts whilst whistling Beatle tunes. The boys, unchanged by the tumult, continued with their show at Finsbury Park. Brian Somerville, their press officer.
I put Ringo in my car one night and the kids outside overturned the car. It was only a Morris 1000, but they literally overturned it. I've never seen people go so wild and so mad. But the police were downstairs in the basement playing pontoon. They got, it was the second week and everybody sort of... No, it's true. It's absolutely true. They used to sit down there and they used to have card games and they used to sort of think everything would work out all right, But we ended upside down in a Morris 1000, very nearly. But it was all right. There was a pub across the road. We went in the pub and the kids didn't come in the pub. That was in the days when kids under 18 didn't go in pubs. Things have changed.
The autograph hunting mania also really got into full swing, with us going through maybe 500 throwaway postcards a night. And it was impossible for all four Beatles to sign all the autographs. And maybe Neil Aspinall and myself used to spend 2 hours locked in the dressing room just signing as many as we physically could as well. This used to extend to the Lord Mayor's visitors' books and to the local police chiefs who were frightened to go home without them. Probably not many people have actually got the full set of all four Beatles autographs.
Everyone talks about the Beatles, but no one does anything about them. The Beatles are an extraordinary act in England. I think they're the biggest thing in England in 25 years. And actually, the music is rock and roll. Now, we've never, in my 7 years at NBC, ever on The Tonight Show or on this show, ever had a rock and roll act. But I'm interested in the Beatles as a psychological, sociological phenomenon. And I want to show them to you tonight. They're from the toughest part of England. It's Merseyside, near Liverpool, in the dock area. And it's a very tough area where these four nice kids come from. They're kind of witty. Someone said, what's so exciting about living on the docks at Liverpool? He says, just staying alive is exciting at the docks. But they're nice kids, and I'd like to show you now all, for the first time, what it looks like in an audience in England when the Beatles are about to perform. Cure for this.
And Michael Brown, seeing that John wrote these poems, said, if you like, I could show these to a publisher. And he showed them to Tom Mashler at Jonathan Cape. Based on Bedford Square, one of the great little publishers. In the old days, Britain and America and most countries were full of little independent publishers. Now they've all been swallowed up into these great corporate entities. But
they were the publishers of Catch-22.
Yes, that's right, they published that too. And he didn't tell Tom Mashler who had written them. He just said, does this lot interest you? Put out on the table a few interesting pieces by John, and Tom Mashler was interested. And then he said, well, actually, I can tell you they're by John Lennon of the Beatles. And Tom Mashler said, I'd like to do the book. So immediately, at Christmas '63, Tom Mashler expresses interest to John in doing a book. And while the Beatles are doing their Christmas show at Finsbury Park, on the 4th of January '64, I had to look that up. John signed the contract to do the book.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, I had a vision when I was 12, and I saw a man on a flaming pie, and he said, "You are Beatles with an A," and we are. That's all laughing. Well, that's how it started, anyway.
We made our first record at the beginning of 1963, and we had a hit with that. But I think the whole bit really started when we did a Palladium show, and then later we were asked to do the Royal Variety Command performance, you know. And we met the Queen Mother, and she started clapping.
And Princess Margaret, too.
Yeah, and Princess Margaret. Yes, well, we've heard that our latest record, I Wanna Hold Your Hand, came into the Australian top 20 right in a #1, which is very nice. And I think it's selling in Finland and Sweden and other places like that, too. No, it's a dirty rumour, we don't.
No, we cut it ourselves.
Dear public ear, we heard your programme on December the 29th when Tony Hall said it'd be nice if the people who liked our kind of music would also appreciate the kind of records and music that we play at home, like Murray Wells' Miracles, and not to mention Marvin Gaye. We believe that the fans would like these singers if they had the chance to hear them, you see, because we don't seem to hear enough of them these days on the radio. So you'd make us very happy, Tony, and you'd absolutely break us up if you'd play us some. Yours sincerely, George Harrison.
And Ringo Starr. You wrecked me, gag, you fool.
What was your gag?
You know, not to mention Marvin Gaye, and I say Marvin Gaye, and then you say, I told you not to mention him.
Thanks for your letter, George and Ringo.
I met them in their dressing room at the Finsbury Park Astoria here in London. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison and Ringo Starr, a few minutes before they went on the stage. And, as you'll hear, anything goes in a Beatles interview, my reputation probably too. I started by asking the ringleader, John Lennon, how they all began.
Well, I don't know. It just started about 3 years ago in Liverpool, and we Beatled about, and then we went to Hamburg and Beatled. Then we came back to Liverpool and Beatled, then we went to Hamburg and Beatled, then we came back to Liverpool and Beatled, and then we made a record.
Why Beatle?
Why not? A rose by any other name would smell as Beatle.
Well, let's turn to Paul McCartney. Did you at that time...
Yes, Bob?
Yes, who did you say? Pop?
No, Bob.
Bob?
Yes.
I'm not Bob.
Well, there you go, don't you? Go on.
Jacob.
Jacob. Yes, Jacob.
Good. Paul, when you were still at school and you started the skiffle group, did you have any idea that you were going to sit here in the Astoria, that you were going on Royal Command performances on trips to the States?
No, I didn't have any idea at all, Bob, about that. No idea at all. Because, you know, you just don't think of that sort of thing, do you, Bob?
No, you don't, Bob, but did you have any dreams, Bob?
Hey, now, look, don't start calling me Bob. Well, you know, you obviously dream about that sort of thing, but you never think it'll really happen to you.
What would you have been doing now if you hadn't been a Beatle?
I think really what I might have been doing was teaching, but I was saved in the nick of time. But this was a life for me, eh, Bob?
Okay, Bob. Thank you very much, Bob.
Okay, all the best.
Let's turn to the other Bob, George Harrison. George, aren't you sometimes frightened by all this adulation, the hysteria that you create amongst the teenage girls?
Not at all, Dave. I mean, I'd be frightened if they all stopped shouting and screaming and coming to see the shows. Sometimes you do get a bit worried if something goes wrong and somebody's got hold of you by the hair, but it doesn't really matter.
It's not Dave, by the way, it's Charles.
Don't let things like that get you down, will you? You know?
No,
I've known some people go through life with names like Rudolph and things, but they just don't seem to worry about it.
Well, Rudolph is almost as good as Ringo, isn't it? Ringo, you were the last to join them.
Yeah, because they're a bit older than I am. So I'd only just started school when they started. That's not a lie.
Have they been to school? I didn't...
Oh, yes. Paul was there. Tuesday, May 1964.
Yeah. Well, John, coming back to you, this question of the hysteria. When they storm you after a show and, you know, tear the clothes off your back, aren't you really afraid?
Well, I've never had him. I've only lost a button, I think, in 8 months.
Not a vital one, I hope.
Oh, no, none of those zips.
John, the last question now about plans this year. Are you going touring? Which countries are you going to visit? What are your plans?
And we come back from the States and make a film in Britain. And then we go to Holland in May. And somebody's been muttering about Australia and Germany and Israel. I can't see how we're going to do all those places in a year, but yeah, we're doing a bit of travelling.
You can be kept pretty busy. Do you ever have spare time to relax?
Yes, now.
What do you do when you relax? Do interviews?
Yes. we get enough, you know, we're not overworked.
Well, thank you very much indeed, chaps.
Okay,
have a good show. Good success. Goodbye. Bye.
Goodbye.
Cheerio. Bye, Charles. Eric.
See you, Bob.
That's my first attempt at a ballad proper. That was the precursor to In My Life. It's the same chord sequences in my life, but just about round D and B minor and the E minor, those kind of things. And it's semi-autobiographical, but not that conscious, you know. It's really about, it's not about sin, my first wife. But
I fell in love with.
And you, would you promise? I used to like intros like they had on 40 songs, you know. Yeah. They'd have a long intro and then the song would start. So that's all mine, the harmonies, Paul's. And maybe the middle eight, let me think, maybe I mixed that and In My Life up, although they're nothing like, but they had the same. Understand?
If I trust.
Yeah, that's the song, that's all mine. I think maybe the middle eight he introduced the chord in. I might have mixed up the story on the middle eight In My Life, and this one, I think it's this one he gave me the middle eight on the F. And In My Life, I think, was complete. So that shows that I wrote sentimental love ballads, silly love songs, as you call them, way back when.
You see, now the thing is, hang on, the thing is, at this point, we normally have a joke, you see, but he didn't think, you didn't think of one, did he? Didn't think, well, sorry about that. No, he didn't think of one, so we just better do a record that we did, pardon? A record we did. Jacko's here! Jacko's here. Hey, shut up, I can't hear what I'm saying.
And you could walk into that apartment and there would be Roger Moore, Tommy Steele and Stanley Baker playing a very heavy game of poker in one little room, and away from that there'd be loads of other people. She'd always have a group playing. Shortly after the Beatles became famous, she got them up there.
Alma, you have a reputation for giving all sorts of parties with different decor and odd ideas. Are you planning on doing something spectacular in the near future?
Yes, I've got a fabulous idea for a Christmas party, but I'm not going to tell you about it, Keith, because you're involved in it. You'll have to wait and see.
We knew they could come and just have a great time, or play roulette with my mother, or go and have their fortune told. We used to have a fortune teller in my bedroom, and for £1 they could have their fortune read. And, so I think it was that, just having fun. And you know, as one we had for Tommy Steele, we all dressed up as children, because he doesn't drink. So we had lemonade and sweets and a magician. And then people like Cary Grant sitting on the floor. He didn't wear shorts there.
Back in London, Beatlemania was rife. Alma adopted them and they became frequent guests in her flat in Kensington High Street. Lennon called her Sarah Sequin. To the others, she was Auntie Alma.
She was extremely fond of not only the Beatles' music, but of the Fabulous Four themselves, and I would very often see them at her apartment.
I was there at the time when Paul McCartney came in. He said, I've got this wonderful tune running through my head. I haven't done anything about it, but I haven't finished it. But he went to the piano and he went to... That's it, he said, that's running through my head. So, it was lovely little melody, that, you know. I said, got to thought about any words? Oh, no. I said, fish and chips. How I'd like to have some fish and chips. That's what I remember him saying. I don't remember saying anything else but fish and chips.
On parle beaucoup des Beatles, on parle aussi beaucoup des goûts que vous avez. Bon, alors, séparément, John, qu'est-ce que vous préférez dans la vie?
Les chanteurs, Carl Perkins, Chuck Berry, etc., Benny King, the Shirelles, Little Richard. Les acteurs, Marlon Brando and Tom, Harry and Bill. Ils n'aiment pas le jazz traditionnel.
Paul, qu'est-ce que vous préférez?
Jim, Ray Charles, Little Richard, Brigitte Bardot. Écrire des chansons.
Écrire des chansons.
Écrire, well,
Écrire
not
des
far
chansons.
off.
George, qu'est-ce que vous aimez, vous?
Le Hitchcock, la TV. Ringo is in Liverpool.
Ringo est à Liverpool.
The fog, the weather.
À cause du brouillard et du vent.
Comes tomorrow.
Il vient
demain.
With his drums.
Oui, alors il faut quand même dire qu'avant, pour se préparer à
avant la Générale, ils vont faire le soir à Versailles, dans un cinéma.
Oui, le cinéma Cyrano, parce qu'en fait, Cocatrix avait décidé de faire ce qu'on appelle la couturière. La couturière, c'est une répétition générale, mais devant un public. Et il s'était mis d'accord avec Monsieur Edeline à Versailles qui...
Eric, regardez, on voit la photo, celle-là d'ailleurs.
Voilà, effectivement.
Cyrano, hein.
Voilà.
On peut saluer d'ailleurs Jean-Louis Rancurel, magnifique photographe, et Bob Lampard, qui ont photographié ces moments historiques, des photos sublimes de Jean-Louis Rancurel, qu'on remercie de nous permettre de les montrer. Et donc, ce soir-là, c'était à Versailles.
Oui, alors, effectivement, donc Bruno Cocatrix avait passé un accord avec Monsieur Edeling, qui était propriétaire du cinéma Cyrano, et qui avait dit ce serait bien qu'on puisse faire la répétition générale à Versailles chez toi, parce que le public versaillais est réputé pour être difficile, etc. Et donc, ils se sont mis d'accord, effectivement. Et à partir de 1954, avec le spectacle de Gilbert Bécaud, toutes les répétitions de l'Olympia se sont faites au Cyrano, devant 2000 personnes, hein, la salle était pleine.
Quand même. Oui, mais alors dites-moi, Eric, on va tordre le cou à certaines légendes. Vous l'avez dit, effectivement, les Beatles étaient les vedettes à la fin, même s'il y avait 2 co-vedettes, c'était Sylvie Vartan et les Beatles qui clôturaient.
Oui.
Donc il n'y avait pas des gens qui criaient pendant que Sylvie Vartan chantait, on veut les Beatles. C'est pas vrai.
Alors, si, ça a été fait juste pour le problème, c'est que Sylvie Vartan était prise en sandwich entre Trini Lopez et les Beatles. Il y a beaucoup de gens qui venaient pour les Beatles. Et donc, elle était huée dans certains spectacles, c'était difficile pour elle, oui.
Mais
ils l'ont chahuté.
Des bonnes relations avec le groupe, comment ça s'est passé?
Ah oui, elle avait de très bonnes relations avec le groupe, ça se passait très très bien. Ils sont sortis ensemble plusieurs fois dans Paris, etc. Et ils allaient à gauche, à droite. Les Beatles sont allés, on sait, chez Castel, au Bill Bocquet. Ils sont allés aussi au Saint-Hilaire, le fameux club de François Patrice. Et d'ailleurs, ce qui est amusant, c'est que le premier soir, François Patrice a fait une soirée spéciale pour Trini Lopez, où on distribuait des marteaux en mousse, mais les Beatles n'ont même pas été invités. Ah oui, c'est vrai.
Il avait oublié les invités.
Ah oui, il y avait beaucoup de gens d'invités de Paris, mais les Beatles n'ont pas été invités pour la boum préparée spécialement pour Trini Lopez par François Patrice au Saint-Hilaire. Ça, c'est amusant. Voilà, ce qui se passe, c'est que c'est le soir, c'est juste après avoir joué à Versailles, après la couturière de Versailles, le 15 au soir, ils rentrent dans la nuit du 15 au 16, et là, effectivement, ils reçoivent à la fois un télégramme et aussi des coups de fil pour leur dire, écoutez, voilà, vous êtes numéro 1 la semaine prochaine dans les charts américains, au Cashbox. Il y avait deux charts très importants, il y avait le Cashbox et le Billboard. Donc le premier à les avoir classés numéro 1 la semaine suivante, c'était le Cashbox, et la semaine d'après, c'est le Billboard. Donc effectivement, ils apprennent qu'ils sont numéro 1 aux États-Unis, et ça pour eux, c'est énorme. Parce que, ah oui, 3 ans. Ah oui, pas de la nuit. La fête, ils font une bataille d'oreillers qui a été photographiée par Harry Benson d'ailleurs. McCartney monte sur le dos de Mal Evans, and Rodis, et ils font une fête incroyable. Ils vont même dans Paris après continuer dans pleine nuit.
Ouais, faut dire que c'est.
We were in Paris one time playing the Olympia in Paris, when back at the hotel, and the telegram came through from Capitol Records of America to Brian. He came running in the room. Hey, look, you're #1 in America.
I remember that to the minute when Paul told me about it. I walked into their suite after one of the shows, and Paul comes leaping out of nowhere like a lunatic, jumps on my back, shouting, "We're #1 in America, Mal, can you believe it?"
Just, I can't describe. We all tried to jump on Big Mal's back. Hey! You know, that was it. Like, we just didn't come down for a week.
And Brian rang me around about 1:30 in the morning. He said, "I know you won't mind being woken up." I said, "Well, I wasn't asleep anyway." He said, "Well, I've just heard from America. We're #1. Fantastic. He said, "Do you want to come round?" No. So we went round and had a great drink up. It was lovely. Super. We never went to bed that night.
It was a great feeling because we were booked to go there directly after the Paris trip, so it was, it was handy to have a #1.
Oh, I remember that, yeah, in Paris.
There's Brian.
I was just talking about that.
Chamber pot on his head.
Yeah.
Judy's there.
Uh-huh.
And if you remember, and it was very naughty.
It was all the food was in phallic or...
Yeah, the rolls were a particular shape.
It was a hoot. It was great, And we'd never seen anything like that.
I suspect Brian might have.
Yes, oh, he chose it all right.
Yeah, that's
He
what I
chose
mean,
it.
yeah.
But they also got Judy standing on the table, putting a garter around her leg. Remember that?
Yeah. She didn't need much persuading. And I think the girls were under heavy chaperone because I say it was boys to be le Beatles, one attention, Paul, John. Yeah, we okay, you know. Like, dear me, funny crowd. But so we went down kind of medium. We were on the bill with Trini Lopez. If he had a hammer, you'll remember.
I didn't know Trini was on that show. I thought it was Sylvie Vartan and a few other people. It was very strange because suddenly we had as you said, we had all these boys sort of chasing us all over Paris. Well, we'd been so used to the girls, you know.
And hanging round the stage door all seemed to be a bunch of slightly gay-looking boys shouting, Ringo, Ringo. The audience, at least on the opening night, was all tuxedoed, elderly French people.
And the French photographers, the world's press, were backstage there, and they were all queuing up to see Sylvie Vartan and Trini Lopez. Nobody wanted to see the Beatles. And I wasn't very happy about this, and after all, my job was publicity. So I remember I said to Bill Corbett, who was the chauffeur. But anyway, Bill and I decided, as big men, that we've got to do something about this. And so we literally started a punch-up backstage. Well, Morecambe and Wise couldn't have done it better, as a ham sort of punch-up, really. And we started hitting some photographers and sort of getting out, and eventually this built into a thing whereby the photographers and the reporters believed that the punch-up had started because they were all, each one believed the others were all trying to get to the Beatles, and that the Beatles and that we were trying to prevent them, were trying to stop them, and it worked.
Avec les photographes, ensuite, quand ils sont arrivés sur scène, malheureusement, il y a eu 3 coupures de courant, et notamment pendant Roll Over Beethoven, ce qui a beaucoup agacé George Harrison, parce que c'est la seule chanson qu'il chantait en soliste. Et donc, il y a eu 3 coupures qui ont été très pénibles. Et parce que la radio Europe 1 était branchée sur le même tableau électrique que l'ensemble de la solo, et ça a fait sauter l'ampérage. Donc il a fallu intervenir 3 fois pour rétablir les plombs. Donc ça faisait rire l'audience qui d'un seul coup voir les Beatles qui s'époumonaient dans leur micro avec les micros coupés, quoi, plus de son.
then the next day we went over to Auckland for a concert over at in New Zealand, and we were at the station doing radio interviews. And he said, "Oh, would you like to hear this new recording? It's just it's our huge hit in the States. That's what it was. Great hit, big hit in the States." And we're going, "Well, sure, love to hear this." It's a group called the Beatles, and of course, right off the bat, we're going, "Beatles? What kind of a name is that?" It's, okay, yeah, let's hear it. And of course, they played the "I Want to Hold Your Hand" for us, and kind of looked at each other and went, well, it's different. It's really interesting. It has a lot of energy, but it didn't really impact us as musicians the way I think it did the folks back home, because there was more to it than just the music. There's a little bit more going on than we quite understood at the time. So while we were away, well, the cat's away, the mice will play. And we came back home to a whole new wave of music from England. Well, it started with them, of course, and then it just never stopped.
Salut les copains, ici John. Salut les copains, ici c'est Paul McCartney. Salut les copains, ici George.
Salut les copains, ici Ringo.
1, 2, 3, 4. Salut les copains, salut les copains, salut les copains, salut les copains, salut les copains.
We just heard his record. As I said, we listened to his album and it really gave us a buzz, and we played it constantly over and over and over again.
I mean, I heard of Bob through John. He played the records to me, and it was just great.
I think it was freewheeling.
We love Bob Dylan.
Ils sont allés un peu partout dans Paris. Donc ils étaient effectivement très très occupés. Et franchement, ils n'ont pas eu le temps de s'ennuyer une seconde. Durant toutes les 3 semaines, ils ont été à l'Olympia.
Ma question était aussi un peu people. Est-ce qu'ils ont vécu le Paris by Night?
Alors oui, effectivement, ils sont sortis dans différents clubs. Je pense qu'ils sont allés chez Régine. Ils sont allés aussi au Saint-Hilaire, le club de François Patrice qui est près de la place de l'Étoile, où là, effectivement, il y avait le tout Paris qui venait. Donc ils sont même sortis un peu avec Sylvie Vartan, enfin ils ont circulé, oui. Ils ont fait pas mal de nightclubs avec leurs amis anglais.
twist of fate put me in Paris just before, the Beatles came for the Ed Sullivan show. So I was with them up until like 48 hours before that show. And I was so blown away. They had taken me under their wing. They were playing in Paris, and I was on the same bill. And they, being British, they thought I was playing with a French artist. So they thought I was French. And then when they heard me cursing one day, and they came up, John Lennon came up and said, "Hey, you're British," and I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Come up and have a drink with the band afterwards," the band. And from that moment on, they kind of, I guess they thought I was kind of cool. And I hung out with them for 3 weeks and jammed and spent time in the hotel with them, with all those connecting rooms and the whole floor of the hotel. And funniest thing was we used to get back and there's an English dish called bread and butter pudding, and they had the chef of this world famous prestigious hotel. They wanted him to make this bread and butter pudding for them. So this guy would literally come up every night and present the day's bread and butter pudding. And then they go, "Oh, no, it's not good enough. Tomorrow." And the poor guy would come up every night and do this, and they always send him away like, "Oh." It was really taking the piss out of the French,
exactly, yeah.
Cuisine.
Yeah.
But it was just wonderful to change my life forever.
Can you compare the French audience with what you're familiar with back in England?
Well, there's a lot of difference because in England, you see, the audience is a 75% female. Here, 75% male. And that's the main difference, really, because they still appreciate it, but you don't get the full noise and the atmosphere of a place.
No screams. No screams and fainting. Why is it 75% boys?
I don't know, but I think they don't let the girls out at night in France. One of the reasons.
I think it's your dressing room.
Somebody said that they still have to have chaperones, a lot of them, you see. Whereas in England they're out, and the boys like... Yeah, and... it's funny, it's the same in Germany. All the boys, like the rock, and it's usually the same on the continent. I don't really know why.
Well, Paul, we see the I Want to Hold Your Hand as #1 on the hit parade, and we have a copy of it here right now. So let's sit back for a moment and listen to it. How did you come to write that, I Want to Hold Your Hand?
Let's see. We were told, this was one of the songs that we were told we definitely had to get down to it, we had to get working. So we went and we found, it was an old disused house that we found. We were sort of walking along with it. We just thought we've got to really get this song going. So we got down in the basement of this disused house, and there was an old sort of piano there. It wasn't really disused, the house, there were sort of rooms to let. We found this old piano, and we started banging away there, and we stayed there.
And well, yeah, there was a little old organ there too. So we were just having this sort of informal jam session down there, and we started banging away. And suddenly, just a little bit came to us. I think it was just sort of the Cats line. And so we started working on it from there, and we got our pens and paper out, and we just wrote the lyrics down. And eventually, you know, we had some sort of a song. So we went back and we played it over to our recording manager, and he seemed to like it. You know, so we recorded it the next day.
And how about a movie? Is there a movie in the future?
Yeah. We've been asked by United Artists to do a feature movie.
Will it be dramatic or just strictly wrapped around your singing?
Oh, we don't know yet, really, what it's going to be like. I don't think we'll have to do an awful lot of acting. I think it'll be written round the sort of people that we are, and there'll be 4 characters in it, very like us.
Or do you plan to compose 2 or 3 songs specifically for the film?
Well, actually, we've got to compose 6 songs specifically for the film. We've got to get down to that, too. That's a job.
And you boys really haven't had much of a chance to see Paris, have you?
No, not really. Not really, no.
What do you think of it so far?
Well, it's nice, quite nice, you know.
How about the French girls compared to the British girls?
Oh, we haven't seen any yet. No, that was
John?
Yeah, well, I'm married. Didn't notice them.
Oh, we'll go back to Paul then.
Yeah, I think they're great.
Oh, you're single?
Yeah, well, I think the French girls are fabulous. Yeah.
But we have seen
more
French boys than French girls. So, I mean, you know, we can't really tell.
Well, perhaps when you get to the Ed Sullivan Show, there'll be more girls for you.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Whilst at Paris, didn't some chappie from Germany come over and say, right, we want your records in German?
Yes, well, in fact, this had been organised some time before, because Germany, although they'd issued a record or so, the Beatles, the record manufacturers over there were quite adamant, saying that Germany was a very peculiar market and they couldn't possibly hope to sell any Beatle records unless they were performed in German. I didn't know the German record market well enough, and the Beatles didn't like the idea of recording in a foreign language. Although they could speak German sort of very roughly, as they'd been over in Hamburg for a while. They really didn't want to do it at all, but we were convinced that it was the right thing to do commercially. So while they were in Paris, in fact, appearing at Olympia, I arranged for them to record at the MI Studios outside Paris. And the boys were enjoying their first taste of luxury at Olympia. They were staying at the Georges V Hotel. And they were enjoying their new life. They were very, very busy, and they were tasting the first fruits of success. And I asked them to appear at the EMI Studios one afternoon, and I got there with this German fellow who came over to coach them in the language. And when the time came, I think it was about 4 o'clock, there was no sign of them at all. And I was a bit puzzled by this. I thought, must have happened to them. So I rang the hotel, and I spoke to their road manager. He said, oh, they're having tea, they're not going to come. I said, why? And he said, well, they don't want to. They decided they don't want to make a record in German after all. I was absolutely livid. I hopped in a cab together with the German, and I tore back to the George V Hotel. So I burst in on the scene, and they were all having tea there. There were the 4 Beatles and the 2 road managers, and the only woman present was Jane Asher. And it was all just right, rather like the Mad Hatter's Tea Party, you know, and because Jane was pouring tea from a china teapot with her long gold hair, and the others were sitting round, rather like March Hare. And as I burst in the room and yelled at them, they all fled to corners of the room. The place disintegrated. There wasn't anyone left at the table except Jane Asher pouring tea, except the mop head was sort of in a different corner of the room, just looking over a cushion or a chair, sort of eyes peeping up from it, pretending to hide and sort of laughing. And I said, you know, you really owe this fellow a great apology, because he's come all over from Germany. So say you're sorry. And they sort of, in that cheeky Liverpool way, said, oh, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Well, I want to read one of your rave notices from the staid old Times of London. I think it might interest some of our listeners. You know, its music critic said the other day that The Boy, and I'm quoting now, is one of their most intriguing songs with its chain of pandiatonic clusters. Those submediant switches from C major into A flat major, and to a lesser extent mediant ones, e.g. the octave ascent in the famous I Want to Hold Your Hand, are a trademark. The other trademark of their compositions is a firm and purposeful bass with a musical life of its own. That's the end of the quote. Now that's all very erudite stuff, and maybe it's all double talk for all I know. But does it mean anything to you?
Yeah, it means he must like it, whatever he says. We don't understand a word of that. You know, we just write the songs, and then they sort of come along the next day and say, have you noticed the hypodermic clusters or something? We don't understand it, you know.
There's definitely no clusters on my record, isn't it?
Well, maybe that's why the needle got stuck on my cuff.
Do you fellows have a love life? I mean, you have girlfriends? I don't want to ask John because...
Yeah, I've got a love life.
I've got a love life, yeah.
Yes, oh, definitely. Going steady.
He's really going steady.
Well, I'm married, so I must have a love life.
Can't get rid of her, eh?
Well, what about the other fellows? You have girlfriends, steady or otherwise?
Yeah, that's 14 at the moment, you know, because we never have time to go steady, because we're moving all the time.
I've got time, yeah.
Well, John has time.
Well, you bring your wife along with you, John?
Well, it depends.
You got a little baby, too, haven't you?
Yes, little baby Beatle.
So you going to sing, too?
Well, I don't know. He doesn't seem to like my singing.
Does he already sing, keep you up nights?
No, he can't even speak. And he's 14.
À Paris.
Ouais. Ah, I Wanna Hold Your Hand. C'était ça le numéro 1, donc.
Voilà.
Incroyable, hein?
Oui, absolument, absolument. Et alors, ce qu'ils ont fait aussi, ce qui est assez étonnant, c'est qu'ils ont profité de ce séjour pour enregistrer des disques au studio de Boulogne-Billancourt. Et oui, donc, notamment I Want to Hold Your Hand, et des studios, des enregistrements qu'ils ont enregistrés en allemand. Donc, I Want to Hold Your Hand et Shield of You, qui deviennent comme Give Me Deine Hand, et Shield of You devient Sie lieb dich pour le marché allemand. Bon, ils s'étaient fait un peu tirer l'oreille parce qu'ils voulaient pas le faire. Ouais. Mais bon, ils l'ont quand même fait. Et en plus, ils en ont profité quand même aussi pour enregistrer une autre chanson qui venait de composer au Georges V sur le piano du Georges V. C'est Can't Buy Me Love, qui a été en grande partie enregistré à...
Around that time, you released Can't Buy Me Love, which was another big success.
Yeah, we recorded that in Paris. EMI have got a studio, Pathy Marconi, in Paris, which is great. It's quite similar in some respects to EMI in London. So it's like a home from home, and we went across there. We were playing, I think, at the Olympia.
À part ça, ils sont allés au restaurant. Ils sont allés voir Memphis Slim, un musicien, pianiste de jazz américain.
Oui, dans un club qui s'appelle la Grande Séverine, rue Saint-Séverin.
Donc,
et avec eux, d'ailleurs, se trouvait Géraldine Chaplin. Et donc...
ils aimaient la France. Ils
adoraient la France. Et d'ailleurs aussi, ils ont fait un maximum de visites dans Paris. Pendant ces 3 semaines, ils sont allés, bien sûr, Tour Eiffel, Champs-Élysées, etc. Mais ils sont allés aussi à Montmartre. Ils ont vu beaucoup de choses.